Emile, how are you, brother?
Good, thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome, and it's been highly anticipated because I was supposed to be in Bali a month ago, sitting with you doing this, but because of everything, we're now uh,
Virtual.
virtually
Yeah.
together, which is still amazing. We met each other a year ago at your event, which was a
Mm.
big transformational event for me, and kind of kickstarted everything for me. Where going into diving into my own stuff and doing the inner work and stepping into who I wanted to be, which was so awesome. And then I guess from there, we've kind of nurtured the friendship. And now finally, I get to have you on and to delve into your story because there's so much that I'm inspired by um, within you and what you do, which is so awesome. But what's got you most excited in life right now?
Currently, right now, what's most exciting for me is creativity. Um, I feel like obviously right now with the pandemic and Corona, everything's going crazy right now, and I feel like it's making me go in, and it's just got me into this really creating machine right now. And the biggest thing I'm excited about right now is the course that I'm going to release in about 8 days,
Yeah.
which is called Illuminate with Us. And why I'm excited, Carla, because this has never happened before. This one thing that's happening in the world right now has never happened before. And that evokes a new way of being, a new person to show up. Like I can't show up as the same person that was falling short and not following through or making the excuses. It's like it's calling you to become something new. And this is what's exciting is that we are collaborating with massive coaches, speakers, healers, yoga teachers, personal trainers, nutritionists, naturopaths from all over the world. So that's what's exciting right now. I'll tell you more about it later on.
Awesome. And it sounds super exciting. So you're in Bali right now,
Yeah.
in Canggu.
Mm.
Amazing. And for a lot of people that I guess don't know who you are, haven't seen your stuff or your Instagram or been to one of your events, can you give us a wrap up of your life from start to where you are now and everything that you do?
How much time do we have?
Yeah. A wrap up.
A wrap up. All right. So grew up in Melbourne, Australia. Parents are from Cape Town, South Africa. Grew up as a kid that didn't really think I was smart enough. Didn't do really that well at school, but was definitely really good at connecting with people, opening up conversations. I was a promoter. So, when I finished high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Went from that into promoting, like at clubs like Metro, um, Lotus. Lotus is gone. I don't know if Metro is still there, but Groovalicious, which was Salt nightclub, that's disappeared as well. But that's where I started developing my confidence in really speaking out and coming out because I label myself as shy and not and that was just another way of saying I'm not confident.
Yeah.
So with the promoting, it got me to come out of my comfort zone and really talk to people and connect. And I realized I was really good at it. I'm a connector. I'm a supporter. I know a lot of people, and I knew how to bring them together. Now, I thought that I'd found my calling. I'm going to be a promoter. I'm going to have my own club. It's going to be sick. And then what I realized is that, maybe 2 years into it, I was just like, my gosh, my boss was addicted to cocaine. I didn't even know this because I didn't take drugs yet. Um, the club scene it was very superficial. It was just people calling me all the time. But I thought that them calling me made me feel important, right? Made me feel needed. And I think it's interesting as I'm saying this because it's like so many of us do this. We do things for other people or to get something. You're always getting something back. So I was getting fed by like I was getting called all the time. I was one of the biggest promoters. Oh, if the door guy rejected someone, I could be like, nah, let him in. Like it
Yeah.
felt powerful, right? But ultimately, it wasn't real power. It wasn't real confidence. And slowly but surely, I started like pushing myself out of it. I still was in the clubs maybe 2 nights a week instead of 3 or 4 nights, but I was tired, bro. And so people asked me to do modeling, and through that journey, I was like, nah, absolutely not. I was so shit scared of rejection. And through that, what's funny is that whenever you go to the thing you're so afraid of, you're going to have the biggest breakthroughs. And what happened was I got asked several times in the clubs to do fashion shows. So I did it, and then it gave me a massive high. And then from that, I went to agencies, but straight away I got rejected. So when I got rejected the first time, I was like, no, never again. I'm not going back to modeling. And I continued with the club scene. And then from there, finally got over it and got asked again several times to do modeling. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. But I also made the excuse that I was like, oh, I have to be bigger, I have to be musclier, I have to have this, I have to have that. It was trying to keep it perfect because I was trying to keep it so perfect so that I'm not rejected. And this is one of the biggest lessons that I learned through modeling was every time you're rejected and you're not attached to the result, you embrace yourself 10 times more. It's like you're putting back into your own self-worth jar. And that's what happened to me eventually. Like throughout the journey, like I ended up modeling for 12 years from LA to Singapore to New York to Germany, Italy, Barcelona, Australia, all over the world. And it taught me how to embrace myself no matter what, how to fully support myself even when someone's like, no, you're not good enough for this. I let go of attachment in that moment. It taught me how to let go of attachment. It taught me how to let go of the result. Because if I was hung up on that last job that I got rejected from, then what would happen in the next job? I would take that I'm not good enough story into the next job, and then I would stuff that job up. So it really taught me very quick lessons, and at the same time, Carla, it got me to accept myself on a deeper level because I wasn't just my looks. You know, there was 7 other guys that could look like me, a light skinned brother, you know, in LA, New York. And through that modeling, I started reading self-development books. My mom was a teacher, not a teacher, like a psychologist. I was studying psychology. And I was reading books on people skills. Like I actually, if I look at my wall, it's on the other side. Yeah, it's up the top. This book, so funny. I still have it. It's gone yellow, bro. This is like,
That's OG.
yeah, like 15 years old. But it was perfect people skills, you know. For me, like I was like, how can I become better? I was always asking myself, how can I grow? How can I learn from this lesson? What can I do to be more effective in this area? And those are powerful questions. And that's what I pride myself on. I'm very proactive with things. Like if something's not going well or not flowing in that case, I'm like, okay, who do I know that knows how to do this? You know, I've got a coach now, you know, even though I've been coaching for now 10 years, it's like, I always wanted to grow, learn, and be a better version. So I started reading this book, and it's basic. When I look at it now, it's like it's super basic, but it was what I needed at the time. And that started kind of me in my self-development journey because when I went into self-development, my mum asked me to do a course called Landmark Forum. And I did it in Melbourne. And at the time I wasn't speaking to my sister because something happened between us and I literally cut her off. Now for a year, I didn't speak to my sister because I was like, no, you don't deserve my time. You don't deserve this. And it was something that happened. You know, I'm going to share it because it's a lesson, I think. And what happened was I was overseas and I moved one of my ex-girlfriends in, and I left the house in a mess, and I was living with my sister and her partner. So I left for overseas, and I left the house in a mess, and my mom and had to come and clean it up and stuff. So when I came back from overseas, my sister kept my bond money. Now she's like, "You left the house in a mess. We had to do this, we had to do that," and she kept my bond money. Now, obviously, I just came back from overseas. I was like maybe 21, I think, and I spent a whole lot of time in Europe, so I was broke, right? And she said, "I'm keeping your bond money." And when I said that, when I told my mom, I was like, "Mom," I said, "Joy's keeping my bond money." She's like, "Well, that's between you." I was like, I was so triggered, Carlo, because what I didn't realize at the time is that the same exact feeling happened in that moment, and I didn't realize it until when I went to like a self development event. And this is the thing that I want people to understand if they're watching or listening to this, is that you literally between 0 and 7, you have the child, right? And the child is like a sponge, and things happen along the way, and you make agreements, and then you will take that experience and then try to live your life avoiding that experience if it was painful. And in that moment, what happened? My I was 5 years old or 4 years old. My sister borrowed $2 from me. $2, right? We're in Target. I remember it clearly. She borrows $2 from me, and she goes and buys a New Kids on the Block tape, cassette tape. Yeah, this is how old I am, guys. And she buys a cassette tape, and then she never pays me back. Now I saved a long time for that $2, right? So I held on to that. And then the same thing happened. It wasn't even the fact of the money, like it was like $600 or something like that. But the fact that she kept my money, it triggered the exact same feeling. And in that moment, I was like, done, right? I was like, you don't care about this, it isn't that. I was like, you think about more money more than our relationship. And I was just like, well, that's it. And that's how I was back then, right? For a year, almost a year, I didn't talk to her. And it was a vital lesson because, well, one, she never did it again. But two, I lost out because I didn't come to the table and I didn't own my own shit in that moment. And I was like, it's her, it's her, it's her, but it was also me. And the moment I took responsibility for that and owned that, the moment like we came back together. And it was actually when I did Landmark Forum that it taught me about like cleaning up your mess as well, and calling out people and that you maybe had resent with or problems with, and clearing the space. Now, after I did that course, I started studying. And the moment I started studying life coaching, I was like, I did the leadership course, and then I was like, you know what? I saw this woman speaking on stage, and I was like, I'm going to do that. And it was interesting because I didn't just think, you know, I'm going to do that. I was like, I'm going to do it better. And I was like, wow, that's weird that I would say that because I wasn't really that confident back then within myself. And I started studying. I started studying my life coaching course, 2-year online course. Then I started doing a yoga at the same. Started doing yoga at the same time, which worked perfectly. But what's interesting is that yoga is exactly what life coaching is, but deeper. It's thousands of years old, and it's in your body. It's like you can't just go to the mind. You have to have a full mind body experience. It's like because your emotional body traps stuff, right? And from doing yoga and the coaching at the same time, I learned so much about myself, and I grew, and I ended up doing NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy. Um, I've done theta healing, Reiki. I'm qualified as a yoga teacher. So I learned so many different modalities, but the reason I did that was just to learn different ways. There's not one way of healing. And I kind of got addicted to it in a way, whereas like every time I grow, I peeled off a new layer, and I got the goal. I became more confident in myself. You know, I was shedding these old stories, and through that, that's where I've gone to now. Like where now I'm speaking around the world. I'm teaching. I'm coaching. I'm coaching coaches, and it's still exciting to me to see someone come in that has this story and then leave like transformed in a way where they're now doing it for themselves and now impacting other people, like yourself, for example.
So powerful.
Mm.
So what are all the things you do right now? You teach, you speak, you coach, and it's
Yeah,
based on emotional
yeah,
intelligence.
emotional intelligence. And so I work with high achievers and high performance in emotional intelligence. And I'm kind of now pivoting my brand. And it's interesting because just before the corona hit, I was working with, I've kind of rebranding myself as more someone that works with high achievers. Like I want to be coaching people that are playing at a level that are like next level. And in my head, I was like, well, if they're playing at a next level, then who do I need to be to show up to match the frequency of that? You know, I was like, I played basketball. I was like, I want to coach Steph Curry. Those are the people I want to be coaching, like playing at that level. I was like, those guys are playing at this level. Who's coaching them? There's got to be someone. Why can't that someone be me? Right? I've got the background. I know what I'm doing in that space. And then I was like, well, just before Corona hit, I was coaching like a German hip hop artist in Bali. And then we had like this big CEO coming over from the States, but then it got cancelled. So right now, in this moment, I'm actually working fully on this Eliminate With Us course because this is what's needed right now. Like a lot of people don't need deeper work. They don't need to go back onto the trauma right now. People need basic tools to go and like learn how to not just survive but thrive from a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And that means like could be like from yoga to meditation to journaling to understanding your values. But people need community, they need connection.
Hmm.
And this is why I'm like what I'm doing right now. Basically, I'm not really coaching at the moment. One-on-one, I'm really focusing on like a mass on how can we support the world right now.
Yeah, and it's super important. And that's where I think last month when all this was going down, and as we were talking about before, like my programs had, more people come in than ever. But even a free program that I did, a free 5-day challenge on just the daily tools that I use, 5 things that I use, some of which you taught me, then for them to implement, to just
Yeah,
use in their daily life to, like you said, to survive right now, and but also thrive,
yeah,
because the fear and uncertainty is getting to a lot of people in big ways, and it's
mm,
crippling them from living their life. And I'm not disregarding that this is something that's never happened in, like, ever, if not many years. So first time I'm ever living through anything like this, but at the same time, I'm calm. We were talking about this before. We're super focused.
mm,
We know who we are. We're not panicking. We're not so much stressing or feeling the fear. We're like, okay, what can we do to serve?
yeah. And what can you do now? Like, I think the biggest problem is that, and I'll give you the analogy. It kind of feels like I've heard the meme, I've seen the meme go around that it's like, oh, feels like we've been sent to our room and grounded. And it kind of is. It kind of feels like when I think about that, I feel like it's like we've been sent to jail. Now imagine, right? You get sent to jail, your rights get taken away from you. The prisoners that thrive are going to ask themselves the question like, what can I do right now? What do I have access to? So you'll see them, they'll be reading, they'll be learning, they'll be exercising, they'll be having conversations or deeper conversations versus prisoners that are not thinking that way, are thinking of victim, I shouldn't be here, this is crap, this is bull crap. And then what they do is like they waste their time. Now your time now, right now is your opportunity. And it's like, are you going to wait or are you going to create? Are you going to wait until this pandemic's over before you start creating again? Or are you going to use this time right now to create? And I think everybody should ask themselves right now, where am I at right now? Am I waiting or am I creating? Because you can only be in one or the other. So,
Mm. So many things in your story and also in that I want to touch on. So first thing would be, what would be one thing that someone could do now to focus on if they're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and they're like, their whole lifestyle has changed, whether they've lost their job, they're stuck at home when they're, obviously we're never at home 24/7. What's one thing that people could focus on to then help them thrive?
so you said a few things right now. They're overwhelmed, they're stressed, they're stuck at home. Now, a lot of the biggest issues right now that's happening is that people don't finding it hard to adapt to being at home, to being with their partner or their kids 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not. It's like you're constantly in each other's energy. Maybe you're pissed off about something else, and then that trickles into something else. I think the biggest thing people can do right now is find a structure or find a rituals
Yeah.
because structure equals freedom. And if people can do that right now, is like find a morning routine, find a night routine. You used to get up, go to work, go to the gym, come home, see your partner, feed the dogs, feed the kids, blah, 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 blah. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, well, what do I do now? So I think and I think it's different for everybody. I think why I say ritual is because I feel like it's what's your personal ritual. What can your morning routine be right now? You could wake up in the morning, you could add in a few things. Like it could be like my morning routine right now is wake up, do a meditation, read, or listen to an audiobook. And then I might do workout. I like to work out first thing in the morning because it's hot in Bali,
Yeah.
but I prefer to work out in the morning because it gives me that energy kick and it shifts my mood. I also listen to music. Now, music, it's a fact that if you have a playlist that is your favorite music, it'll lift your vibration and serotonin way faster than doing meditation. But I don't disregard my meditation because my meditation allows me to process thoughts and to release. Then I have a night routine. The night routine is like slowing down, like trying not to check your phone at night. Maybe it's like half an hour before bed, you stop checking your phone. Then turn the lights down, play some calming music. Maybe if you've got essential oils, you can put a little bit of lavender in an oil burner or a fuser. Um, Pick up a book or get a journal and read and ask yourself this question: what did I learn today? Did I have a breakdown? If I did, what did I learn from that breakdown? How can I respond in a more effective way than react next time? Now, this is all self-awareness, you know? I think the first step always is it's like, how do I have awareness? I can't change anything unless I'm aware that I'm doing it. So I think the best way right now is like get a routine. And then from there, like have your little structure throughout the day. Like you are going to work, like literally get dressed. Don't have to wear your suits and stuff or dress all fancy, but get dressed and like have pride in that space and have a spot that you sit at and you do your work. So I think that's it. Yeah. I think that'll be a good exercise right now.
Yeah, and it's something that, especially with my clients right now, or even people that ask, and for me, I've worked from home for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So it was always a case of, yeah, at the start it was weird, but I chose to do it. I wasn't forced into doing that. I wanted to live a laptop freedom lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I knew that, over time that my mornings became really important to me. If
Yeah.
I was waking up at a late time and not doing the things that were for my mind, movement and meditation, then I would feel less motivated, less focused throughout the
Yeah.
day, and I wouldn't be as productive. And then
Mm,
also at nighttime, I noticed at one stage I was either staying up too late on my phone, watching movies or whatever else, and not allowing myself to sleep. So when I did those things, which they were fun, when I did them, I felt good. It's not like, oh, it's a chore to do these things.
yeah.
It might be to, let's say, oh, I have to do this. I'd rather stay in bed. Yeah, I would rather stay in bed every other day and sleep in. But when I do those things and create that structure for my day, I feel so much better and I get so much more done.
Yeah. Another thing I'll add into that is you want to check into like, where is your time being robbed? Where are you wasting your time? Is this supporting me with going to the person I want to be or the person I don't want to be?
Hmm.
Because it really does come back to your daily habits. Like when you think about successful people, it's not what they've done, it's what they've done daily, their daily rituals that has got them to that place. And that thing broke everything I thought about. Like I was like, why does person A get it all the time and then person B always falls short? And it's because person A has a system. So check into what your systems are right now. What's actually taking you away and stopping you? And actually, this is what you can do as well. When you journal at night, try different things. Like today, I added in meditation before working out, or today I didn't work out and my moods were a certain way, or maybe I did yoga today instead of working out. You know what I'm saying? Like, see where your moods fluctuate so you can get a better understanding about you.
Mm. And I love that. It's the first thing like before was like self-awareness of what's actually happening, getting that awareness, and now implement something, try something. It might not work the first time, but then keep adding them in and then reflect on it to see if it actually was.
Yeah. And then you can take apart. You can be like, yeah, I want to add this in. I want to take that out. And it becomes fun. Like have fun with it. The key to
Mm.
have fun with this, and use it like a challenge. We all love challenges. You've seen them on the internet, 10 push-up challenges. And, you know what I'm saying? Like we all like challenges. It's like challenge yourself in a healthy way. You know, don't
Mhm.
beat yourself up when you don't get the goal or you don't get the outcome that you wanted. Just know that you're learning and growing every single time you do that.
Yeah, and we need to adapt every day because it might change over time as well and evolve.
Yeah. And
which is okay.
some days you will feel really good and feel on top of it, and your best will be like higher. And then some days you won't feel as good and you'll be tired and you're like, and your best will be lower. But as long as you do your best to your capability of how your mood is that day, then that's all you can do
Hmm.
without feeling regret, you know?
Mm. So I want to take us back to what you said right at the start, especially in your story about the non-attachment of the rejection. Why do you think people hold on to so much attachment? And then how can they start to let go of that attachment to outcomes?
All right, let's do an experience. All right. I'm gonna use you, Carl. All
Fantastic.
right. So think about you played soccer, right?
Yep.
What position?
Center defensive mid.
Okay. And so that's left back mid, right?
No, so
Oh,
just in front of the
midfield.
defenders, just behind the midfielders. So in
Ah,
between
so
that line.
stopper would it
Yep.
be? Yeah. So your job was to sweep, like you're watching everything, you're controlling everything, right?
Yep.
Whenever you felt like you were doing a good job and defending, but like it's like you had like, you know, like you were like you had strings and you were like orchestrating things because
Yep.
you could see everything. Now imagine you have a great game and you're in flow and you've just been orchestrating it so well. You've moved well, you've been clear, you're not too much thinking, but you're in your being and your team is responding to you. How do you feel at the end of it when you win?
Incredible. It's
Yeah,
it's light. It's you feel achievement. Um, and yeah, if everything's flowed that day, it feels like you've done everything right.
yeah. And you said it, everything right. And that's the problem.
Hmm.
We try to keep it perfect. We try to, because when we keep things perfect and when we win, what do we get? We get praise, we get love, we get affection. People tell you you're amazing, you know, and then we get addicted to that feeling. So we're like, I need to get better. I need to get better. And it drives us. But at the same time, it's like sometimes we can miss the point. You know, like if your self esteem or your confidence is based only on when you win, or when you get the girl, or when you get the job, or when you achieve something, what happens when it stops? Like right now, what happens if you can't achieve anything right now? You're stuck indoors, you don't know what to do. Like your self esteem is going to be shot. You're going to fall onto the floor. You're going to be like, I'm useless, right? And I think that one of the biggest problems is that we're so attached to the result that we miss the point. When you first started playing soccer, why did you start playing?
Because my friends and my cousins were playing, and it was fun. Yeah, it was a sport that I loved.
How old were you?
6.
Yeah. He said, my friends were playing and it was fun. And then we get serious. And the more serious we get, the more fun starts trickling out. I know because I played basketball at a high level
Yeah.
and it, I was really good and athletic. And I went to the States and I played there and I came back and it was super competitive. And, you know, like I wanted to be the best. And when certain players got scholarships and I saw some things happen, I was like, this is something's not right here, this and that. There was politics in it, you know, and it took the seriousness, there was no more fun. It was work. And this is what we've got to realize is that we've got to bring fun back into it. We've got to have fun. And that was the key thing right there when I said you said it was fun. Now that's what you get attached to. Like at the start, you were having fun. When you're fun, you're flexible. You're able to move. You're able to, you know, make mistakes, but you're like, it's a game. And then when you get into the serious space, what it's like, I want to win because you used to get praise when you were a kid. So what you do, you're like, I need to get better. I need to go to the next thing. It's the same thing like those actors. Like an actor goes out and goes like, I'm going to go for my audition. They go for the audition. I didn't get it. Okay, cool. I'm just going to keep working on it. I'm going to keep working on my craft. And then when they finally get that job, they're waiting. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I just booked this movie. And they booked the movie and they're super excited. They're like, now this is me. I'm gonna shine. It's gonna be shown out to the world, and then from that, I'm gonna get the next job and the next job, and that's how it would normally go sometimes. Except what happens, they cut your scenes. And then all of a sudden, all that confidence, all that happiness just gets taken away from you in 2 seconds. So all of a sudden, it's like you think that you're going to get this break and you're betting on it, all your happiness. If this happens, I'm going to be amazed. It's going to change my life. So I'm waiting versus creating still. Now, the moment I stop and I keep waiting and I get that disappointing news, how do I feel? Like, you shit, this and that, maybe I'm not, all the doubts come in. But if you keep creating, Carlo, and you keep honoring that, and you grow day by day, bit by bit, and keep the habit. The people that have made it out there didn't just do it overnight. You've seen it. You've heard the analogy about the iceberg, and that's you only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and then the whole part of it. You're not seeing that part. They don't just pop out of nowhere. It's years of failing. It's years of falling over. It's years of growing. It's years of like dedicated, disciplined work. And I think the reason why people get so attached to that is because one, they have a desire to win and feel that adrenaline of like, oh my God, I did that. But then it goes into a point where it's like you get told you're good at something and you want to become better and better and better. But again, like I said before, it's like you end up missing the point. It's like you're missing the actual point of why you're doing it, and it's no longer fun. How do people get around that? I think it's great to do what you're doing in that space at a high level, but how do you not be attached to it? That was your next question, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the way you let go of attachment is you start working on yourself first. Like the acceptance is what needs to come in first. I'm going to accept myself no matter what. If I get this job, I used to use this motto. If I get this job, great. If I don't get this job, great. I'm going to keep working. So I would go for castings and it would be acting or modeling or, and I would do the best and I'll get into a creative space. And when I had fun and I got into that space of creativity of like, oh, how can I have fun with this? Like if I was doing a monologue, I'd be like, okay, how can I explore different options in this? And the moment I did that, I would get creative and more fun I had, the more that would come across when I was presenting on screen and stuff. And you book the job and you get this like rush of endorphins in and serotonin releases and you're like, whoa, yeah, I did this out of all these other models. But I wasn't attached to the job until I was actually on the job because I've been booked for 10, 20, $30,000 jobs. And then they're like, yeah, it's been canceled. And then that money disappears. So that taught me that it's like you're never booked until you're on the job. So the first thing for me is let go of what it's meant to look like, what you're chasing. Ask yourself, what is the feeling that I'm chasing right now? And ask yourself, what do you make it mean when you lose? What do you make it mean about yourself when you fail? Because I had a story personally that I wasn't good enough. So this is where the perfectionist came in and was like, you know what, I've got to be better. I've just got to keep it right. It's got to be looking good all the time. Now, if I was to do that, it served me for like, because I practiced my ass off in basketball, in modeling. I was like, if I'm going to become the best, like I trained, like I was dedicated. I'm like, I'm going to give it full go. But at the same time, it taught me about accepting myself when I was getting rejected. The moment I accepted myself, even when I was getting rejected, the moment I didn't lose self-esteem. Now, what happened was I was in Paris. I was coming from New York. I was going to Paris for a job. And I was like, I'm going to go see what the agencies are because, I want to work in different countries. And that was a beautiful thing about my job. And I remember, Carlo, one day I went to go to these castings and meet all these agents, and 10 agents I called up because my agent was like, yeah, we can't get you any bookings. And I was just like, whatever, bullshit. I was like, I'll call myself. And I've been in the game for a while. So I was just like, I'll just go see them. Like I had agencies in New York, LA, Germany, Singapore, Hong Kong, Barcelona. Like I was like, why wouldn't I get an agency? So I go there and I got rejected by 10 agencies that day. And every time I finished, I was like, cool, next. And at the end of the 10th rejection, I remember laughing to myself. And I was literally laughing because I was like, huh, I just learned a lesson. And the lesson was that I didn't let my self esteem or my confidence drop because of what happened. I was like, I wasn't meant to be in this space. I'm not meant to work here, and that's okay. My look isn't going to suit every single look all over the world, right? And that's what it taught me about. That's when I knew I really accepted myself. And I think what people can do right now is ask themselves, what are they hiding, avoiding, or pretending not to know about themselves? What are the things you don't like or you try and hide from people? Because when you can actually acknowledge that part of you, um, what's going to happen is that you're going to nurture it instead of reject it. And the moment you nurture that the dark side, the shadow side, and it takes time, the moment you start becoming whole and feeling whole, like I don't need to avoid showing you that maybe I was insecure about this and this and that. Like I can talk about it openly because I've nurtured it and I've accepted it. And don't get me wrong, it still comes up and it will. It's not, you're not doing this so you get rid of it. It's all there for a reason. It's there to teach you. And I look at triggers like they're your signs. They're your signs to teach you where you need to go. So if you're getting triggered right now in this moment, it's like, okay, what just triggered me in that moment? Cool. What happened? Ask yourself what happened, who was involved, what was the situation, what was actually the thing that triggered you. And if you take responsibility and go, okay, cool, I'm responsible for my triggers. Like I have this saying, it's like I love my triggers because they're going to show me how to free myself. So every time I get triggered, I write it down actually. And every time I write it down, I'm like, okay, cool. What actually triggered me about that? What was it about that that made me feel uncomfortable? Or what did it bring up in me? What was the story that came up? What was the persistent complaint or concern that came up when I got triggered then?
I love that. And I remember from a friend's poem that was in a video, and it was because when we don't accept, and I guess we hold on to the attachment of something of whether we're good enough,
Mm,
if we achieve certain things. And I've had that my whole career with soccer. It was if I had the best 80 minutes of the game, but for 10 minutes I missed a shot or one pass didn't go right, I'd be down the whole week and then
yeah,
beating myself up. Next week I'll make it better. And I can't control the other 21 players on the pitch.
yeah,
Like if I passed it to someone and they stuffed it up, I'd still blame me.
yeah.
If we
So
lost,
interesting. We talked about that though.
yeah. And for me it was, especially in my career, like you said, like very similar. I got good. I
Mm,
started to go places. I started to sign for clubs. I went to Europe and played. That's when it wasn't fun. And I
yeah,
got rejected and all of that. And I put all my self-worth in the coach, my agent, my
yeah,
performance. When I came back and I said, stuff it, I'm not playing ever again. I don't like this. I went back home and lived with my parents in Mildura. And I played for the club that I played with when I was six till 13.
yeah.
And all my cousins were still there. Kids that I played with then had never left. They didn't go to uni or anything. And I went back and I said, well, there's no pressure. Like I've gone from semi-pro down to amateur Sunday league, and I'm playing against some people that I played against when I was that age and people with that used to be in my team.
Mm,
And there was just so much lightness and freedom that even if I did make a bad pass, it was like, whatever, I'm playing amateur. Like there's no expectation or attachment to anything.
yeah,
That those 2 years were the best 2 years of my footballing career. I scored crazy goals. I trained because I was like, I want to get better so that I feel more comfortable and more fit. And it started to show. We won like every game by 10 goals in the first year. Second year, I switched to a different club and the same thing happened. But there was no attachment. It was like, if we win, we win, but I'm just here to enjoy time with my friends. Just so
but
happens that we're really good.
yeah, but it also you let go of what it had to look like.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest problem is that we put so much pressure of what it's meant to look like that we stuff it up.
Hmm.
What happens when we try to control an outcome? What happens to our breath? It
We hold
literally
it.
goes, we hold it.
Yeah.
What happens when we have fun, we flow? It literally allows us to let go. And the moment you let go, you allowed yourself to come into your best version of yourself and you developed your confidence again. Like you lost your confidence because you were basing it on something outside of you.
I think that also rings true in whether it's dating or even friends. And this is where like the attachment to everyone's got to like me. And I was people pleaser, recovering people pleaser. We talked
Yeah.
about this last year, and it was I like to be liked and I hate to be hated.
Mm,
And for so long, it was like if someone didn't want to catch up or anything like that, it was like I'm rejected. They don't like who I am, therefore I'd
mm.
feel bad. But as you were saying, if you got the job, great. If you don't get the job, great. That's very much my attitude now. If someone likes me and wants to work with me or be my friend, great. If they don't, great. Cool. It's being in alignment, and if they are in alignment with that too, awesome.
It almost fuels me when I if I ask the speaker to come and speak at our event, they're like, nah. I'm like, it fuels me to become better. Like you've heard that saying, and not in a way where it's like, I'll show you, but in a way where it's like, be so good that they can't ignore you.
Hmm.
But in a way where it's like, I still stay in my lane in that space. It's like, I don't need to be bigger, this and that, but it's like, be so good that it's like, everyone's at a frequency. And if you're playing at a 4 and you're like, hey, I want this coach that's playing at a 10, like Tony Robbins, to come and coach your thing, he's gonna be like, nah, dude, it's not, it doesn't resonate. Like you can't take that personal. It's like
Hmm.
instead of taking it personal, I'm like, okay, how do I become at this level? What frequency? Who do I need to be? The same reason why I was like, yo, I want to be coaching people like Steph Curry and people that are playing at that level. I'm like, who do I need to become in order to match a frequency?
Mm. I just brought up this quote because I found it the other day and I was like, this is quality. Non resistance, non attachment, and non judgment are the three aspects of true freedom.
Yeah. Non-attachment, non-resistance,
And non judgment.
non-judgment. Yeah. I think I definitely believe it's true. When you think about it, it's like the judgments always come, and don't get me wrong, we all can be judgmental. The judgment is okay. Judgmental is not. You need to make a judgment.
Hmm.
You're running from a bear and it's chasing you through the woods. You need to make a judgment. You outrun it, or climb a tree, or get the hell out of there, right? Judgmental is your opinion on something based on your own ego. Resistance is what comes up when like I hear this a lot of times when people want to change or grow. It's like I'm resisting it because it's uncomfortable. And what was the last one? Attachment. And attachment we just spoke about. So
Hmm. Powerful. Then you step
yeah.
into the greatness, you step into the freedom, all the good things that we're all looking for, but we don't have the chains
And
of
and think about
limitation.
and think about it like this. You said that's your key to freedom, right? And I think the biggest thing I believe is that freedom is when you can self-express without caring, like when you're fully in self-expression. That is when you feel good, like I'm talking not like good, like I'm talking like you're in alignment with your values, you're creating your relationships, your um friendships with your
You're
family,
vibing.
you're vibing. It's like you're not going to be judging everyone else on what they're doing because you're in your zone, right? And when you're fully expressing and you're not caring what people think, like when you're in full self-expression, you don't care what people think. You don't care what you look like. You're actually in alignment because you're having fun. You're in your own vibe, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, is when you're in that space, you are free, and you're not judgmental, and you're not attached to what it looks like, right? So it's so true. What the quote, you know.
Mm. Let's switch it up here. What is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and how is that the best thing that ever happened to you?
I read that question and I was like, what is the worst best thing? Um, I was in an extremely toxic relationship maybe 7 years ago, and to the point where it broke me like no one's business. I'm telling you, like it was manipulative, it was controlling. She had anxiety, like quite a lot, like would have panic attacks, and from her anxiety, she liked to control things. And that gave me anxiety. And that was the first time I experienced proper anxiety. Like I'd never had anxiety like that before. I didn't even know what the anxiety was before. And I'm telling you, to the point where you would wake up and you feel like you can't breathe. And I don't know if you've experienced that, but it's debilitating. It's such an awful feeling. Like when you feel like you can't breathe and there's never enough time, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And for me, that relationship broke me in smithereens, to the point where it's like it broke all my confidence. It broke all, like, I was doing really well with the modeling game, and then when I got with that partner, um and we traveled together and we got in a relationship, I stopped, slowly started losing weight, started questioning myself. And that relationship, it really taught me one of the biggest lessons was to trust and my values. And during that relationship, I ended up, like, I wanted to go to counseling with her, but she wasn't open for it. And because I wanted a second opinion on what was going on. And I still was trying to take responsibility, because I was like, I was taught, I was coaching already. I was like, take responsibility for this. Because there's always two people in a relationship. Now, in that moment, I felt like I'm taking responsibility, but it can't always be me. It can't always be one person. And in that moment, Carlo, what I realized is that I was betraying my values. And when I went to see this, my mom's a psychologist. So she was like, go see a positive psychologist, because they'll talk to you about values and stuff. So I went and did a session with him. I actually did 2 sessions with him. And on the second session, he's like, Emile, you don't need to be here. He said, you just need to learn your values. And I said, he goes, let me teach you why your values are important. And the moment I learned my values, the moment it changed my life. So I got my values down pat, and he said, if you learn these values and you practice them, and if that anything is not in alignment with your values, then you need to say no. And that happened. And after I got that, I went back into my relationship. And so when things weren't aligning, I was like, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't align. Even though my mind wanted to, it wanted to be there and wanted to fix, even though I didn't know why I was in the relationship. Like, I couldn't get out of it. And eventually the relationship fell apart because of the fact that I was in alignment with my values. Now, why was it the best lesson I've ever had? It was one of the best lessons I ever had, because if I didn't go through that experience, which I'm telling you, like, I wasn't sleeping, I had, what do you call it? The headaches,
Migraines.
yeah, I had migraines. I've never had migraines. Anxiety, like, I lost weight, like, everybody saw it, but nobody could help me through it because I had to go through it, and that relationship taught me about my worth. That taught me about my standards. What do I deserve? What kind of relationship do I want? And I had to go through that, because that was already there. That was in me already. The insecurities are there. The fears were there already. Like I told you before I started modeling, I was confident. I wasn't confident. And then when I began model and started doing all these other things, I became more confident. But guess what? It's not real confidence. I realized it wasn't real confidence. Yeah, I was confident when I was in front of the camera and it looked good, and people were like, oh, Emile, like, you this and this and that, you're on billboards. But what happens when we're in relationship is we get the real lesson, because we're faced with a mirror. And now what that mirror is going to do is they're gonna magnify the stores that you've been hiding and avoiding and pretending not to know. And that's the job of a relationship. The difference is this, you have to ask yourself, is this relationship supporting me and making me a better version? Or is it taking me away from myself and making me betray myself? And you will know, do you have more energy when you're around this person? Are you happier? Or is this person playing games with you? Are you always in your mind? Are you always second guessing yourself? How does this person get along with my friends, the people that have been close to me my whole life? Or are they separating you? Are they pushing, I don't know if you should be around that person. Are they making you second guess things? And I think it's good to question everything, question what I'm saying. And that relationship it taught me ultimately my self-worth. It taught me how to step up. It taught me that I am worthy. And for a good year and a half, I wasn't with anybody. No one. I had to heal. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive her. And people are like, why would you forgive her? But I had to forgive her because me blaming her would still keep me stuck in the everyday story that I was a victim. And I wasn't a victim. I had to go through it. I had to be in it in order to come out of it in this space now. And this is what I teach people on. I teach people on self-worth, your emotional intelligence. I teach you about your values, like everything that I've gone through from that experience and the other experiences that I've had has brought me where I am today. So I'm grateful.
Mm. And I think one thing that touches on there is like when you then know, and this is, you taught me this, so this is why it's been so key in my life, and what we're talking about is that once I knew them and you helped me switch some, because some I looked good, but you're like, no, you need to focus on this one. For me, what I noticed, especially last year, was a pattern when I was dating, is if my
Yeah.
values went bended for them, and I started to match their, because we've all got our own unique values.
Yeah.
And if mine started to bend because I wanted to keep them happy, I wanted to make it work, I was upset. And I was like, but my business is going to shit. I'm feeling bad because I'm not true to my values. I'm taking opportunities, whether it was jobs or business or dates that didn't align with my values.
Mm.
Therefore I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I can't. And you were saying, if they make you feel good, they make you feel lighter, are they supporting you, all of that. um if someone, like, I know for me, one of my biggest values when dating and stuff like that is support. If someone doesn't support you in what you're doing, whether they like it or not, like, it's your dream, your thing, for me that's massively important. I know a lot of people that kind
Huge.
of bend
Huge.
just to keep them happy.
Yeah. That's huge. Like support's massive for me as well. It's like if my partner's not supportive and this is my dream, then it's like you're not really meant to be my partner.
Hmm. There's billions of others out there.
Seriously.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
I mean, when I read that question, Carla, I was thinking about it and I was like, what is the best advice I've ever been given? And I don't think it's just one piece of advice. I think I've had so much different advice and read so many different things that it's like, how do you go, that was the advice? I think for myself, if I was to say, okay, what's the best advice you can give somebody? It is that
No, you've been given.
I've been given.
Yep.
Um, it's the best advice I've been given. I would say that you're going to learn from your mistakes and to not, because obviously I used to be I'm a recovering perfectionist like yourself. So I think one of the coaches that I was talking to right now is like, I was so avoiding trying to make mistakes and trying to keep it looking good and perfect. And he just said to me one day, he's like, Emile, your mistakes is where you're going to get the most growth. And the moment I learned that lesson, the moment I was like, oh, okay, I welcome mistakes then. And then I would ask myself, what can I learn from that? But before that, what I would do is I would try and avoid that at all costs. And if I did make a mistake, that meant that I was bad or wrong or wasn't good enough. And this is why I ask for feedback on a consistent basis now. Even after Elevate events, I'm like, what's the feedback? What did you think? Honestly, like honest feedback. Like don't take it offense to it if it's not good. I'm just like, okay, what can I learn and how can we be better and grow from that?
Mm. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
To trust yourself and know that you're fully supported and everything that you are doing will lead you. Like the biggest thing is my 16-year-old self was like, how old was I? I was playing basketball. I thought I was going to go to the NBA. And I think I'll put a lot of pressure on myself. I practice like a hell of a lot. Like I had a basketball in front of my house. I would put pop plants out. I would do drills by myself. Like I was dedicated, disciplined. When it was winter, I would have it pot plants in my garage. I was doing drills in my garage, and I think for me is trust yourself when you're in high pressure situations. And I mean that in a way where it's like, don't let the doubt creep in, because that sometimes that would happen. And when pressure would build up, especially when we were playing championships, and like I would question, like, can I really do this? And then I would shake it off and get into my flow. But I think with that, it was one of the biggest things was trust yourself in those high pressure situations. Like, don't take it so serious. This is not going to the be all or end all of your life. And I think that's more important. This is not going to make you, this moment is not going to make you the most amazing moment. That's pressure I put on myself, right? It has to be like this and it has to show it like this. Even when I went to America and I was playing against the high school teams there, I was like, we had scouts coming to the games. So the pressure what I put on was like, and I was 16 at the time, was like, oh my God, you got to perform, you got to perform, you got to perform. And that was what I was saying to you earlier, is like, that's what can stuff it up.
It's what happened for me when I first went to Europe. The 3 trial games I played, the worst games I've ever played in my life, because I knew the scouts were there. It was, I just risked everything and paid all this money to come over here, and that the pressure was, I didn't make any pass like good. I was not in a flow. There was so much pressure, and I was out of my. Had so much self-doubt creeping in.
Yeah. And it's a really hard place. I know exactly. It's a really tough place to be, because it's like, it's not who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one moment. And then, but that's a great lesson for you though.
Mm. And I think there was a time 2 years ago where one of my teammates, he played professional and now playing back amateurs, and he'd do like a prayer before the game. And I'm like, oh, are you praying to a certain God or something like that? And he goes, no, I'm just saying it's just football, over and over in my head. Like, it's just football. Like, and he was one of the silkiest and most skillful players on the pitch, because he just
Yeah.
came into it and was just like, I know what I'm doing. We've done this before. It's just football.
Yeah. Super. It's a great advice.
Mm. What is consciousness to you? Or what does it mean to be conscious?
Funny, it's a great question. I mean, what is consciousness? I think we all have consciousness. Otherwise, we'd literally be laying on the floor like unconscious. But I think consciousness to me is awareness. It's what you do with that awareness and learning how to grow it. Because once you open up those doors, you can't close it again. Once you know something, you can't go back. And I think consciousness is, it's acceptance, it's knowing your boundaries. It's kind of everything we talked about. It's knowing your boundaries. It's not betraying yourself. It's being kind. It's contributing. And ultimately, it's love. I think with consciousness, we get pulled into this word where people are like, well, oh, they're conscious beings, or they're this and that. But you can be a conscious being and eating healthy and being a vegan, but then talking shit to yourself. So what is consciousness? It's like, oh, I'm being very kind and I'm being, for the world and this and that. And then I've coached them. And then it's like, I'm beating myself up and I'm being judgmental and it's not good enough and it has to be perfect. And then I'll judge other people for doing the wrong thing. So it's like, consciousness for me is, it's acceptance. It's not one way, but it's definitely not judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not harsh. It's definitely not, um, it doesn't segregate. I think consciousness is something that is an idea that we have that can spread, but it can also, it's a practice.
Amazing. How can people connect with you? How can people see about your upcoming program, or how can they see all the value that you share?
So the course that I'm just about to release in about 8 days is called Illuminate with Us. So they can go to illuminatewithus.com. and apply. I know they don't even apply, they can just buy it. It's literally going to be 3 months. We've got 12 experts that I interview and Heidi interviews. And then we're going to have guest speakers every week. So we're probably going to have about 40 guest speakers. So it's going to be 3 months. You can see the 12 interviews. And the interviews will be covered from mindful meditation to finding your purpose to biohacking routines. We've got Christine Hassler talking about how to self-empower and find your self-worth. We've got Melaine Lee, who's focusing on money mindset. Like, it's a whole array of subjects. And then we've got guest speakers that will teach you yoga, meditation, fitness, cooking classes, dance. Like, and this is the most exciting thing about this color is that these are people from all over the world, and it's $59. Like, and
Whoa.
you know how much I normally charge for our courses.
Yeah.
Even for my own coaching, I charge a lot. I think I remember. I've never done a course actually this inexpensive. So the point is it's about service, it's about community, it's about connection, and we want this to hit thousands of people. Like, we want this to be a movement. And I think right now, this is what we need to do. We need to come together as leaders and support humanity. And it can be done in a fun, creative way where people can grow from day to day things and go to the next level. And it's super exciting, man, because it's going to be, yeah, it's super exciting because it's going to be something that's never been done before like this.
It sounds awesome. I'll have to go on and sign up to all the goodness, because all those topics are things that I want to learn and optimize in my life. So that is awesome. I want to wrap this up by just acknowledging you for who you are and the impact you've made on my life. I know it's been on so many others, but even just for me, I met you 12 months ago, and you know the impact that you had on my life in just the conversations we had, the lessons you've taught me. But then from there, even just seeing the stuff you write and you post. But yeah, like I said, I think it was one of those conversations. I think it was on the day where we were all like going, and you were like,
Leaving, I
all right,
remember
we want
we were
10
in the
minutes.
lobby.
Yeah, in the lobby, and you were just like, this is what I see, and this is what you got to focus on. And it was something that I was like always in the back of my head, like, yep, got to do it. And it didn't happen straight away. It was over quite a few months then I actually went, no, I've got to think back to these times. And then I started to implement that, and I started to see results kick in to get me to where I am now.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm so grateful for that lesson from you, but also the fact that you took that time to run that event, but also
Mm.
to take that time to spend with me and to have that connection, but that one-on-one conversation that meant so much to me in that time. And then now to be on this podcast, man, yeah, so
Well,
grateful.
it's a pleasure, man. It was a pleasure seeing you. And like I said, I'm watching you grow and step into the man that you are today. And it's awesome to see. And I'll support you 100%, bro. Keep
You're a
doing it.
legend. I appreciate you so much. So everyone go follow Emile and get on to the course program. What was it called again?
Illuminate with us.
Illuminate with us, and make sure you like, subscribe, all the good things for this podcast. Share it around. There was so much goodness in this, and I'm sure that there's something that's either triggered you, inspired you, or stood out to you. So make sure you screenshot that, share it with the people you love, because that's how we amplify, that's how we unify, that's how we teach the people that we love and implement it in our own life. So until next time, guys, take care. Peace.
Thanks, brother.